This is the walkthrough for 12-4 Work Together, and we are on page 290 of your textbook. We are posting from a cash receipts journal to an accounts receivable ledger. It says the following partial journal page for Graphics Inc. is given in the working papers, page 12 of the cash receipts journal. Cash receipts journal, page 12. And what do we put in the cash receipts journal? It's any time we receive cash, right? Also given in the working papers is an accounts receivable ledger account form for Alfredo Lopez, plus a blank form for preparation of a schedule of accounts receivable. Your instructor, yes, that's still me, will guide you through the following examples. So this is our accounts receivable ledger form, and we know this one because it has customer and not vendor. If it had vendor, it'd be accounts payable. And it has a debit balance column instead of a credit balance column. So this one, again, has two parts. It says post the account, oops, I'm reading the wrong line. Okay, post the accounts receivable credit entry on line 9 of the cash receipt journal to the accounts receivable account for Alfredo Lopez. This is line 9, right? And if you remember, what goes in the account title when you're receiving cash on account is the name of the customer. Or if this was cash payments and you were paying out cash, again, it would be the name of the vendor instead of the name of the customer. So the cash receipts journal has a dedicated accounts receivable credit column. That's because if we're receiving cash and it's affecting accounts receivable, it means that a customer is paying us. And so it's going to reduce their accounts receivable. Since accounts receivable is an asset, it has a normal balance of a debit. So we decrease it with a credit. So here's our dedicated accounts receivable credit column. Okay, so we are journaling line 9, right? That's right here. So this is on the 21st of October, so we're going to come in and put 21. Our post draft is going to be the page in the journal that it came from. It came from Cash Receipts Journal, page 12, right? Cash Receipts Journal, page 12. This is a credit. It's a credit of $254.40. And if we look at the ledger, remember I told you guys in class that one reason that we have a dedicated page for each vendor or for each customer in the subsidiary ledger is because we want to be able to see their entire account history. So on October 1st, they had a balance of $254.40. Well, it looks like on October 21st, they're actually paying off that $254.40. And if I just use my brain, I know that the balance is going to be this one debit right here, but we'll do the math. So equal sign, here's our debit balance. We had a credit, which means we're going to subtract it. So the customer owed us $1,526.40. They paid us $254.40. We have a new balance of $1,272.00. And the last step when we post, remember we have to take this customer number here, come up to the post ref in our journal, and write the customer number. So we are done with posting that transaction from the cash receipts journal to our accounts receivable ledger. Next step is prepare a schedule of accounts receivable for Graphics Inc. on October 31 of the current year. After transactions that are not shown in the working papers, I'm not going to read those to you until we get there. First thing we need to do is a heading, right? Well, first off, accounts receivable, schedule of accounts receivable. What that tells us is a list of our customers. And so if I ask you what are the accounts listed on a schedule of accounts receivable, you would tell me customer accounts. And it tells the balances and the total. And remember that when we do this at the end of the month, and we want to make sure that what we put on the schedule of accounts receivable matches what's in our accounts receivable in our main ledger, in our general ledger. So, and at the end of the month, we'll go through and we add up all these balances and we post it to the accounts receivable. So we need to make sure our balance is the same. So we're going to do our heading first. The first thing is that we need the name of our business. Our business is called Graphics Inc. We want the type of report we're doing. It's called Schedule of Accounts Receivable. And then last, we want the date, and the date is October 31st, 2013. I know I keep using 2013, not 2014, even though it says to use the current year. Either is correct. And remember that we're not doing a through date because this is on this date, this was the balance in these accounts. And so that's what we're looking at. And I wonder if you guys can tell, but I am extremely tired right now. It's almost 11 o'clock at night. So I apologize for, my speech errors, but I'm pretty tired. Okay, so October 31 balances are as follows. David Bishop. I also can't type this late. $238.50. And remember, we want this to be left aligned. We want these to all be lined up as well. So Maria Farrell, and then Alfredo Lopez, and I'm just pulling these straight out of the book, right? The book tells me where these are on page 290. Let me point something out too. So if we look at this customer account number for Alfredo Lopez, it's 130, right? That 1 tells us it's a subsidiary ledger for accounts receivable, and that 30 tells us that he's probably the 3rd customer on our books, right? We could have like a 10, a 20, a 25, and a 30. He'd be the 4th in that case. But if you notice, 1, 2, 3, right? He's the 3rd customer in our books. And Brandy Sparks. And look, it's an alphabetical by last name, right? Bishop, Farrell, Lopez, and Sparks. 286.20 was her balance. So then we need to add these together. So we're going to have total accounts receivable. And we're going to sum those. Whoops, I'm going to use auto sum though. Maybe I'm going to use auto sum. There we go. Make sure that we have the right ones. We do. Okay, so $2,373.34. Now, if I go back to the book and read it, it says the accounts receivable balance in the general ledger on October 31st is $2,373.34. So that tells me that they match. We did good. We're not missing any balances. We didn't omit anything. Everything's there. But we're not quite finished, right? We still have one more thing to do, and that's called our rulings. So we can come up here, click this one, do thick bottom border, come down here to this one, do our bottom double border. And so our rulings are done. It tells us it's correct. And now it looks like 12-4 work together is officially complete.